Hey, welcome to our podcast, Live Him Out, where our goal is to educate and motivate people how to live Him out in their daily lives. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to pray bold in my marriage. So, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, if you haven't liked or subscribed to our channel, please feel free to do that now on the YouTube link there, or feel free to share this on other social media platforms. We'd love for you to share with others what God is doing here at Vertical and what we are learning from His Word about how to lift Him up and live Him out. So today, talking about how to pray bold in marriage. This has been our series, Pray Bold, here at the church, and people are learning. We are all learning, and we are learning to pray bold and believe God's promises. And we've talked about this this truth from Scripture that God is able to do whatever He wants, when He wants, however He wants. But He's chosen to limit what He does in our lives based on our prayer. And so it doesn't mean He is weak or incapable. It just means He has chosen to involve us in the process. And as a demonstration of our faith in Him, love for Him, we ask, and then He responds. So we're talking about how to do that today in marriage. So a marriage relationship, obviously, we usually refer to that as a relationship of intimacy, and sometimes we refer to that in reference to sex, sexual intimacy. But really, the deepest part of any one of us is not just our physical, it's not just our emotions, not just our mind, it's our spirit. So the things that we share at the spirit level are the deepest parts of who we are.
The core of who you really, really are.
Yeah, the things that are your hurts and your fears and your longings and your needs and the places that God touches. Only when a couple gets to that place, sharing that level of life, is there real intimacy, which leads to greater intimacy in all the other areas.
Absolutely. And the emotions and the physical, all that stuff, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
So if you're going to have a marriage that is spiritually intimate, then one of the greatest ways to do that is by praying together. So when we talk about this today, just so we're all on the same page, when we talk about a couple praying together in their marriage, we're not talking about a few things. We're not talking about just reciting a prayer. I know if you grew up in a home where that's done, you just kind of pick up that tradition, you do that. That is a kind of prayer, but I don't know that is the deepest level of I'm sharing my longings and fears and needs and joys and delights, and I'm opening my heart up, and here's where I am, vulnerable and exposed to you. And
it's almost just being vulnerable to the mental part of your life of like I'm going to think about this prayer rather than from your spirit of this is me crying out, this is me asking, this is me, sharing whatever it may be, but just to the thought level. Yeah,
it's true. And Jesus had something to say to those who just prayed to be heard even out in public. And the things He had to say weren't all that kind.
No,
because that's not the kind of prayer. Prayer is not to be used to make us look better, to just recite something. So also, we're not talking about prayer in the sense of something that we just talk about. Sometimes people talk about needs and say, we talk about it. We say, I'm gonna pray for you. I'll pray about that. So not that there's anything wrong with saying that, but in a marriage context, there should be a deeper level of just saying we're going to pray, but actually praying together about some things. So what we're also not talking about today is just praying separately. That's important too in marriage. Husband prays, wife prays. But if we're going to pray bold in our marriage, then it has to be to this place that there is together, face to face, out loud, open-hearted prayer to God and together.
Yeah, for sure. I think like some other words to say in that, it's verbal prayer, not just I'm going to pray next to you, you can pray next to me kind of thing, but verbal. It's vulnerable prayer, like we're talking about from the spiritual level, not just from the mental, not just your emotions, but from your spiritual core. And then that it's unified, that you're praying together on the same topic, on the same end, on the same goal, all that stuff. So verbally together. And then something else about prayer that's very vulnerable about it, and that's very intimate as well, is that you're voicing your theology. You're truly praying to who you believe God is, what you believe He can do, what you believe your role is as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, as someone who has the Holy Spirit in them. You're voicing everything that you believe about who God is, what Christianity looks like. And so that's vulnerable. You're having to put that core of who you are out publicly to a person that you have a very vulnerable, intimate relationship with.
Yeah.
And so the unified prayer, verbal prayer, vulnerable prayer, voicing your theology together, that's why it's hard.
It is.
But it's so worth it.
Yeah.
So worth it.
So, I talked to a lot of couples, and many are like me and how I grew up. I never saw that happening. I don't know that I ever remember a time that my mom or dad prayed out loud ever. That I saw them.
Wow.
There were times we went to church, but only after I became a believer and got into ministry did we even do some of that at home sometimes.
Wow.
So I didn't grow up seeing any of that. Because I don't think they had a framework of that either necessarily. So when you don't see that growing up, you don't have any experiences of what that looks like, it's awkward. When you say, okay, I want to do this. You're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't feel like I know the right thing to say.
Exactly.
This is intimidating. This is awkward. This is weird. I've never done this before. What is she going to think about me? What is he going to think about me? And
what if I say something wrong?
Yeah, all of that. And so, as we approach this today, I want it to be from that angle as well. I recognize some people grew up in Christian homes and they were encouraged and they were taught and they pray together already. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're needed as mentors for people that
exactly.
aren't there.
Exactly.
So this is designed today to speak to those who say, I don't have that experience. And in fact, this sounds a little intimidating.
Yeah. Or I really do want to have that. I want to have that in my marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, the enemy, it's the last thing he wants for us to get to.
For sure.
To get to that place where we're one, praying to God, but two, doing it together. And as we're going to see today, there's power. There's power when two or more are doing this or praying together. So I get it. And then, we end up, as we've talked about it, vertical. You start making agreements along the way as well, like, what difference will it make?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I can pray on my own. I mean, God hears me as much as He hears them, and it's just too awkward. So why do it? So we're going to push past all of those today, and understand that the Bible calls us or invites us to this kind of depth, and we're called to look like Jesus and the church in our marriage.
Yes, that is what a marriage is. It is the picture of the gospel. It is the most powerful light of Christ, as people say, towards other people, is a healthy marriage where they interact like Jesus and the church and Jesus.
Yep. And so, of course, we have recorded for us in Scripture that Jesus prayed for us. He prayed to the Father for us, and the thing He prayed for is that we might have the same level of intimacy and oneness that He and the Father have.
Yeah.
So it's His desire for us.
Yes.
It's His invitation for us. And I understand you might not have had that experience growing up, but it's a new day.
Yep.
And we can do new things.
Absolutely.
And we can learn to pray bold in our marriage.
Yeah. And so again, I would say a couple agreements to make from the get-go is also like, okay, prayer. I mean, we have to, this is essential. This is what it looks like in a marriage. And I know God can change people. That may be an instant hesitancy you have in this. So I would say, please stick around, listen to the rest of this podcast.
Yeah.
But saying, okay, God can change me. Yep. God can change my husband, my wife, whatever it is.
Yep.
And this, God is at work in prayer.
Yep, it's true. All right, so we're going to talk about 10 ways to get to the place where you pray bold in your marriage. Yep. So take these as a pathway, a set of steps to take. So number one, I'd say this. Understand the power of praying together. Jesus promised it. Here you go, from Matthew 18. Jesus said, if two of you agree on earth concerning anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven.
Yeah.
For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. There's a special promise from Jesus to us that says it's one thing when one prays.
Yeah.
But it's another thing when 2 pray.
Yes.
And they pray in agreement.
Exactly.
And they're praying based on truth. They're praying based on what's been established in heaven already.
Yeah.
They're praying for God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. When there's 2 doing that, there, according to Scripture, according to Jesus' own words, there is additional power and strength that comes.
Yeah.
So that kind of adds additional, motivation as a couple.
Exactly.
To pray.
Whenever you're praying, understanding there's power in this. God is at work in my prayers as well. And then you're praying towards the same end. You're praying towards the same goal. You're praying for wisdom. You're praying for discernment. You're praying for provision, whatever it may be, but an agreement on this is what's happening.
Yeah. Then another verse from the New Testament that really drives home the importance of prayer in a marriage is from 1 Peter 3:7. And here it says, husbands, likewise, dwell with your wife with understanding, giving honor to her as to the New King James says weaker. I'm going to say the more precious, prized vessel.
Yeah.
And as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. Oh, it's fascinating that there would be something that could hinder our prayers together, even as a couple. Well, who wants that? Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it? He says that you dwelling together in oneness and intimacy, husband laying down his life for his wife, and a wife admiring and respecting her husband the same way the church does Christ, living in that context of intimacy actually causes your prayers to be heard. By God in a different way than if you are not.
Because there's unity, there's vulnerability, and you're verbalizing it together. You're agreeing on this together.
Yeah.
This is not a legalistic, do this so that this happens. It's not like, ooh, I want my prayers to be answered, so I guess I'll start understanding what my wife says. I guess I'll start being sweet to her. I guess I'll start doing the right things. It's not that, because there's no spirit in that. It's just the action. It's just the body. It's just the outer appearance.
Right.
But whenever you say, I am going to choose to live in understanding with my wife, I'm going to choose to be intentional with her, to spend time with her, to do things for her, giving honor to the wife. And like the verse even saying, as to the weaker vessel is what it says. And it's like the man needs to care for her. He needs to be the one that sacrifices, that lays down his life for her. That's what Jesus did for the church. It's not just like, oh, just sacrifice, but live like Jesus lived. Pray and do specifically for her with intentionality.
Right.
And whenever you're doing that, you're acting in accordance to how Jesus lived. Jesus had his prayers answered. God obviously heard his prayers. So whenever we, as the husbands, are living in understanding and giving honor to our wives, and then they feel a comfort and a peace and security and all of those things, that gives great spiritual clarity, spiritual security, to where you are able to pray and stand in agreement towards whatever it is you need to pray for. And that right there is why your prayers won't be hindered. Again, not because it's a legalistic thing, just an outward action thing, but it's because you're living a vulnerable life, verbal prayers, and you're unified. You're together. You're with the other person. It's just huge.
Good. All right. So number 2, and again, this is from the setting of maybe you haven't been doing this. Maybe you would like to begin this. How in the world do you approach this thing? How do you say this to your spouse? So I would say number 2, tell your spouse how much it would mean to you if the 2 of you could pray together. So what you don't want to do is come at this with a command, or come at it with a threat, or come at it with a, well, you certainly never pray with me, that kind of thing.
That'll win your husband over instantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Or your wife.
Or your wife, either one. That's not what we're looking for. If you want to reach this place where your spirits are unified and you're one and you're vulnerable, as you pointed out, then you want to get to the place where you say, this would mean the world to me. I would love it if we could. It'd be valuable to me. it would just change things for me if we could.
Yeah.
And that be true for the husband or the wife, whichever one of you it is.
Yeah.
It can't be a threat, a command, a bargaining tool or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just to let them know, I would really like to do this.
Yeah.
And that would be a good first step.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, with that, I would say let's assume the conversation goes well. Let's assume that happens. I would say part of the value in that is that, at least from the wife's perspective, and I'm going off of things that Heather's told me and what I've read and heard from other women, that there is a great longing in a woman for security. She wants to know in her relationship, especially in her marriage relationship, that there is protection and security and stability there.
Yeah.
So one of the greatest things a man can do is be vulnerable and lead out in prayer.
Yeah.
Because although for him it may feel like the most vulnerable, weak thing he can do, it is the strongest thing he can do to picture to his wife that this is a place of security.
Exactly.
Because she knows if he will pray in front of me, then he is a humble, godly man that I can open myself up to.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's the power of the ask. This is the power of it would mean the world to me. If that happens, then I would say number 3, determine a time that you will pray together. Now, I would recommend finding what works for you.
Yeah. Everyone's got different schedules.
Yep, and different life and different experiences in the past.
Yeah.
And so if it is so new to you and so different that you'd say, okay, once a week would be awesome, then I would say to you, once a week would be awesome.
Yeah, find that time.
You should do that.
Because once a week, better than never.
That's right. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be 3 times a day.
No.
If that's what you choose to do, that's what you choose to do.
Yeah.
But the goal here is to develop and grow in intimacy. And if your life or schedule or experience of the past or where you are now says that, hey, on Sunday mornings before church or Monday night when I get home from work or Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month or whatever, you pick it.
Yeah.
If that is the time that for you that works, then you should do that. I know couples that some sit on their back porch and drink coffee and read a devotional and pray together.
Yeah.
I know
That's
some
awesome.
that they get up in the morning and they drink some coffee and then they pray together. I know some, like for Heather and I, that's probably not going to happen at that time of day. For us, it happens at night after the light's gone off.
Yeah,
that's what we do, and it's not a regimented thing. It's not every night. It's a lot of nights.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say it's every night.
Yeah.
So we've been through some times like that where we tried to set a routine, and that was helpful. But from where we are right now, at least it is more need based. It's very often, but just in all honesty, it's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah,
Sunday.
totally. And
it's not that deal.
That's the thing is that we're not trying to get everyone to be like, all right, it's pray o'clock kind of thing. It's where it's again turns into a legalistic thing,
right.
but that it is genuinely from your spirit saying this right here is what I would like to pray for, and this is the time we're going to set aside our phones. We're going to set aside whatever distractions may be going on. I'm going to take work out of my head. I'm going to focus on this right here, us together, being vulnerable, verbally praying in unity.
It's good. So once you set a time then, and you've worked that out, then I would say number 4, make a list of some things to pray bold for. So every person's life, every couple's life has enough things in it that you'll have something to pray bold about.
Yeah.
God is faithful to arrange our lives in such a way that we need Him to ask Him. There's times that we need to ask. There's times we need to see a door opened, and so we do. And so in your life, my confident assumption is that you have some things, whether it be in your own personal life or it be just in your marriage together, or even in your family. But I think the more close to home you keep this, the better. Yeah. The thing I've known about church and believers and prayer over the years is when you get a group of people together and you say, all right, let's have a prayer time. Anybody have a prayer request? It is super easy to talk about your aunt's, neighbor's, cousin's friend who has a need.
Yep.
Not that need's not real.
Nope.
But it's easy to say that rather than say, I'm really struggling with a lack of peace right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm incredibly insecure and fill in the blank.
Yeah.
You know, that's different.
That is where vulnerability comes in. That's where power comes in.
Unity.
That's where unity is. This is an experience toward intimacy.
Yes. And I think another thing is the more personal you can keep it, then the more of a reason it is for the spouse to check up. Hey, how is that going?
Yeah.
Hey, are we going to continue to pray for this? Is this something like how is this going in your life personally? Since we have prayed, have you seen a change in this? And you can keep up to date with that, the personal things, because they're like, I have a good pulse on how this is in my life.
Right. And most likely you both already know what the thing is anyway.
Yes.
You know, you're living together. It's just that no one maybe has verbalized it.
Yeah, exactly.
But put it out there. This is the moment to deepen your relationship, to be honest, to be open. And then make a list. Put it down on paper, put it on your phone, put it somewhere, log it in, something so that you know, all right, here's some things we are keeping up with.
Yes.
And then you can look back on those. We'll get to that here in just a minute. But there's enough going on in our lives that if we're honest, get down to the level of true intimacy that will open our heart and say, hey, I really need you to pray and pray boldly for me on this. Here's a big thing for me. So, all right, number 5. Again, these are from the context of maybe you haven't done this much before. Number 5, be honest about the awkwardness of praying together if this is new.
Because it will be awkward. It would just straight up, it will be awkward the first few times this goes on.
It will. And, it's better to just be honest about that straight up and say, I've never done this before. Yeah. Or this is really awkward. Or I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. I'm uncertain. I'm nervous about what you think about me. Or I'm going to say the wrong thing. Or
But don't let those things make you not pray, because that is what has kept people from praying for so long. That's what's kept people in this, well, I'll just pray in my head. Well, I'll just pray for them. Well, I'll just, not pray with them, not out loud, not vulnerably, not together.
Yeah, I have an unspoken prayer request.
Saying that in a marriage is tough, because now it's like, no, what are you hiding from me, kind of thing,
Right. So what a beautiful way to be vulnerable, to be open, and even in this matter to say, this is weird, but I'm committed to it.
Yes, because I know there's benefit from it. I know this is what we're called to do, and I know this will strengthen us.
Yep.
Make those agreements, not the agreement of, well, they may think I'm weird. Well, they may think I'm bad at praying. Well, they may think I don't know as much. Maybe you don't know as much. Maybe you do need to learn. Well, guess what? That's perfect. Perfect learning experience.
It's better to go ahead and admit that and move forward with that.
Exactly.
Make the right agreements.
Exactly,
That's good. All right. And then number 6, use this to be open about your own personal, bold longings.
Yeah.
So now we're getting back down to this vulnerable area again. We're talking about how in every person's life, we have our own things that we have big dreams for.
Yeah.
Have a need for bold prayer about. And this is the time to lay that out. Here's the person that you've committed your life to. Here's the person you're married to. This should be the safest place on the planet for you to voice your most vulnerable longings and fears and needs. And know that you're not going to get a speech about it, but you're going to get somebody to pray for you in it.
Yes.
So I say some of that out of my own experience. That this is the time to be open, to be understanding, and to pray for. This is not the time to pull out a 3-point message, or say, well, I've got 7 podcasts you ought to be listening to.
And they're all vertical podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. That's not what this moment is. This moment is to understand and to pray for in that moment.
It's to live in understanding, and it's to give honor to your wife. It's the weaker vessel.
It's true.
All of those things. And same for the wife, to be there to listen to what your husband has to say vulnerably, because odds are he's not being vulnerable with the guys at work like this.
It's true. And I know we've kind of have said that from that perspective some, but I also want to say it for a wife toward a husband is he's going to need a lot of encouragement, because in the moments of vulnerability that I have had with other men, and even for me, you often hear, I am terrified to pray in front of my wife.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other more frightening things they would often say they'd rather do than be that level vulnerable in front of her.
Yes.
So you as a wife can help tremendously by encouraging him, letting him know what it means to you to hear his voice, to hear him pray, and that you're so proud of him.
Yeah.
It'll go a long way in helping him want to pray that second time with you.
not make him feel like a little boy, be like, oh, you did so good. But to be like, yes, I appreciate that. That makes me feel secure. And just all the reaffirmation of like, okay, that was worth it. She has a different perspective about me in a good way after this prayer, after these requests, all that stuff.
It's good. All right. Number 7, follow a simple path. There are a lot of different plans for prayer out there. I've seen ones that are acronyms for the word ACTS, A-C-T-S, not A-X, but A-X-E, A-C-T-S. So that there's a format out there for that. There's other formats. I would suggest something ultra simple. One, when you pray together, plan to pray out loud together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for who he is to you. Just something simple. Even if it's, God, thank you that you're my Father. God, thank you that you are merciful. God, thank you that you are so kind. God, thank you that you are holy. Whatever it is, just take a moment to just tell him, express to him in prayer some worship.
Yes.
And then, again, ultra simple plan here. Pray for your spouse. Husband, pray for your wife. She's told you what it is that she wants you to pray for. Pray for that. Ask God for that thing for her.
Yeah.
And then let her do the same for you. Wife, you pray for your husband. Y'all take that time together. Maybe she starts, maybe he starts, whichever it is. Pray bold for your spouse. And then pray bold for family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
Again, keep that tighter, the better.
Yeah.
The more close in, the better. Keep it honest, keep it vulnerable. And then close your prayer. It doesn't have to last all night.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to take up lots of time.
Yep. It's not the quantity of your prayer, but the quality of it. Is it genuinely from your spirit? Yep. Are you just saying words just to say them to try to take up space and make it feel all like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about? Or is this is the cry of my heart?
Yep. And it may be awkward when you start, but you will find familiarity in it as you walk in it. You'll find grace, you'll find peace, you'll find a greater rhythm in it. But start the process. And then number 8, I'd encourage you to keep up with how God answers prayer. Because if you're keeping a mental checklist or a written checklist of what you're praying for, also keep up with how he answered it.
Yes.
It's so faith building to know, okay, this is an answer to prayer, that's an answer to prayer, here's how God moved. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And then I would say if you have not yet watched the movie War Room, watch that movie. It's a powerful picture of prayer, and it is a picture of, if you come from a place where you don't do that, of how you can grow into that and become a prayer warrior.
Yes.
And watch it together and let it be a motivator to you to pray. And then the last one I'd say is like almost our first one. Tell your spouse how much this means to you.
Yes.
That you prayed together. Let them know, man, I'm so encouraged. I'm so grateful. I'm so much more at peace. I feel much more security in my life.
Yes.
I have so much more joy. I'm so much more relieved. Whatever it is, say that. Verbalize it.
Yeah.
You see now, if this is all happening, you will develop in a different level of intimacy. You will grow together in your marriage.
Yes.
And that's true for a couple who's new in the game, like Truett and Chloe, or me and Heather, 30 plus in. It's still a routine we keep up with. It's still a routine that we see God work through. And there's another dimension we haven't even really discussed today, but when you get into even this idea interceding in warfare prayer for others, for children and for family members.
Yeah.
Jesus has promised He hears when two or more pray. So, man, you get on to the next level and start talking about standing in the gap for people and interceding and pulling down strongholds. Powerful. There's so much more out there.
Yeah.
But
take the baby steps.
Yeah. And don't let the enemy keep you from the greatest level of intimacy you can know with God and with one another in praying together. So I hope it's been helpful today. It's encouragement for us, of course.
Absolutely.
And hope it is for you as well. Check out our other podcast videos. They're there. And we'd encourage you to come visit Vertical some Sunday. Look us up on some social media or on our website, verticalchurchovilla.com. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Thanks a lot.